Angry Angie here with Fix Your Fucking House. Today we're going to show you how to fix these stone steps. So, as you can see, there's snow on the ground, so I don't recommend you doing this in the wintertime, but if you could see how bad these stairs are, they really need to be done. What happens is water gets behind the slab or behind the stone, and over time it freezes, thaws, and it cracks and everything pops. Also, we got to fill up all the cracks and holes, so make sure no water gets behind the slabs or the stone. So what you need for this project is a large mixing tub for your concrete. You'll need a shovel to mix the concrete. You'll need a grinder with a diamond blade on it in case you need to cut some stone. You'll need a sponge to wipe off the stone when you're done. You'll need a paintbrush to clean up your area. You'll need a chisel in case you need to break some stone or maybe you need to chip away some stuff. You need a level. I like using a 12-inch level. You could use a 24-inch level if you need. You'll need a brick hammer. You'll need a margin trowel, or you could use a pointed one. You'll need a pointing trowel, which is different. And you'll also need a brick joiner. Two different things, but you'll need them both. I'll leave a link in the description, all of these tools. All right, so let's move to the project. All right, first things first, we got to remove all the stone pieces. Now, since everything's so bad, everything literally just falls apart. So make sure you take them, put them in a pile because we're going to reuse everything later. Your biggest key here is to take everything loose, out, clean it very nicely before you do anything. The reason for this is because you want the concrete to adhere to any existing structure that you have to make a solid bond. If you don't do this right, you're going to wind up fucking up everything and wasting my fucking time. So make sure you pay attention and clean it properly. So feel around, make sure there's nothing loose you can take out with your hands. Remove it and get out of the way. This substructure is so fucked up, it's probably been like this for years. I mean, I ain't no expert, but this looks terrible. So once you removed all the debris with your hands, take the back of your brick hammer and start chipping away. A lot of it will literally fall apart in seconds with very minimal amount of work. So chip it away until you get down to some substructure that's pretty firm that you go work with. Once you start having to really swinging hard and putting a lot of effort into it, you're at a substructure that's pretty decent to work with. So I would suggest you stop at that point. You don't really have to chip much more away after that. Just clean it up, make it look nice, and make sure that there's really nothing loose so you could start prepping for the concrete. As you see, I went down pretty far. I mean, these stairs were in really rough shape. The owner claimed that these stairs were built about 10-15 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised that water been getting behind there since then. This was in really bad shape. I actually went down all the way to the bottom of the riser in front. That's how bad it was. I pretty much chipped out about, I would say, a good 75% of this, which is terrible actually. So remember, you want to keep the area clean. So get a broom, sweep up most of the big shit, get it out of the way. And then you're going to have to go in there with something finer. So I like to use as a paintbrush. You could use whatever, something small that you can kind of get into the crevices and get all the dust out. You could actually use a leaf blower too if you want. That would work, but you know, it was morning when I did this, so I don't want to wake up the neighbors. And plus, you could pretend you're like an archaeologist, you know, looking for your Uncle Paulie's friend in the backyard or something like that. So now we're going to lay out our stones. Working with stones is interesting because everything's irregular. So what you want to do is you want to pre-lay everything out to make sure you like it. And make sure the spacing's right, make sure the stones, they side with each other. You don't want to figure this out when you're applying the mortar because there'll be a pain in the ass, it'll be a disaster. And then you'll really fuck up everything. So don't be a bacala and do it right the first time. Make sure you lay everything out. So now you're ready to mix your mortar. So now there's a difference between mortar and concrete. Mortar is for putting brick, stone, veneers, etc. on the wall or whatever you want to do. Concrete is pretty much your sidewalk. Just to kind of cut that and nip that in the butt real quick. Don't use concrete for this part. This is mortar. And I'm not going to get into the scientific bullshit between the two. Just if you want to know that, look it up, take a class on it, figure it out. But just use mortar for this part. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lay a bed of mortar to set our face stones. It's a little interesting the way we're doing it. Usually you'll pour some type of a substructure first, then do the facade or the stone facade. But since everything's so fucked up, it's easier to do it this way. So the stones will pretty much act as my form. I'll still have a piece of wood just to kind of help the stones so they don't fall out of place. But that's how I'm going to address this situation. And make sure you please read the directions on the bag on how to mix this stuff. What I'm going to do is just a little bit of dry mixture because I need it to help me set the first few stones. So it's really not the right way, but I'm going to do it because it's going to help me with my form. Alright, I'm a bacala. I forgot to hit record when I was laying the mortar bed. But pretty much what you want to do is you want to lay your mortar bed a ½ inch higher than the existing because you want to match it. But also what you want to do is you want to kind of push the stones into the mortar a little bit. It's alright if stuff oozes out or falls apart. What you want to do is make sure the stone has a nice seal on the bottom. So if you can't figure it out from me just saying it, then I don't know what to tell you. You probably shouldn't be doing this job. Pretty simple at this point. So now we're going to start on our substructure. Mix your concrete. I like using fast set. It sets within an hour, hour and a half, so you can work with it. Remember, read the directions on how to mix this. But what you want to do is once you put it in, put it a little at a time, which is you kind of want to probe it a few times. Make sure you get all the air pockets out. Push it in to the crevices. Make sure it gets everywhere. Also, what you want to do is you want to make sure the substructure, the existing substructure, is a little wet because what you want to do, you want the chemical reaction to adhere to the existing substructure to kind of make one uniform bond. So make sure you do it in layers. Throw some on, pat it. See as I'm doing, tapping it down a little bit, and continue doing this until you're at the recommended height. So take your time with it. As you could tell, I'm taking my fucking time with it. Jesus Christ, I didn't realize how long I took to do this. Also, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications so you get all my videos and all my insults right when they come out. Because who doesn't like getting insulted while you're trying to learn something? Also, I forgot to mention, see that block of wood? That block of wood's there to help the stone stay in place while I pour the back substructure. Make sure you get something to hold that. That's going to be key because if everything starts falling apart, then you're really screwed. As you get into the top, make sure you smooth it out a little bit so you get ready for the step. So now my substructure's dried a little bit. I'm able to work with it. I put my mortar on already. Same concept. Put your mortar on. Make sure it's a little higher than what was that's recommended because what you want to do is you kind of want to finagle the top step to kind of get it to place. Remember, you want it to adhere all on the bottom. So you're going to shake it a little bit. So very important here, when you're installing this step, you want it to slope a little forward. What you want it to do is you want the water to drain off of it completely. You don't want water sitting on the step. Remember, water is the reason why these things broke, so you want to get as much water off as possible. So that's the most important part. If you don't do that, this whole thing was a waste, and you're a bacala because you just wasted your time and money. So while installing the step, remember, be very generous with the mortar. If it starts oozing out, it's fine. Don't worry about it. What you want is you want to make sure that it's all sealed all around. You might have to go back later and touch it up, which that's normal. So now you're going to grab your joint filler, and what you're going to do is you're going to go around, make sure you fill in all the missing gaps, all the holes that you missed. And what you want to do is you want to make sure it's one continuous bond to the bottom of the step. Now, everything has to be filled. Remember that. So if you're generous at the beginning, the less filling you have to do. But also, this is the same concept you'll do if you have to fill in all the cracks around. You're pretty much going to take the joint filler, squeeze in mortar, all around, all the holes, all the cracks you got. So it's the same concept. So I'm not going to show you everything. Get ready. Here comes the people. At this point, this must have been the fourth person that walked up and down these stairs when I was trying to do this. So anyway, back to business. So once again, you're going to take your joint filler and you're going to fill the backside up. Same concept. You're just going to squeeze all the mortar in, going to make it look nice. You know, you can take your time with this too because it's something that's a long time. And you want to make sure it's right. You don't want to go back and do it or try to trip it out later. It's going to be more of a pain in the ass. So now I filled up all the cracks. I even filled up the mortar in between the stones that we laid. So now you're going to grab your brick joiner. And yeah, I know, they're all the same name, pretty much. But now what you can do is you're going to kind of smooth out all the joints with it. Make it look nice. It's, you know, it's like a finishing touch type of deal. I like to smooth it out, and I like to take the brush, or I like to take a damp sponge and lightly go over it just to kind of clean it up and make it look, you know, finished. So you'll do this with everything. All the joints you filled in, underneath the stairs, all the cracks you did. Make sure you go through everything. What I like to do too, I like to let it dry a little bit, maybe 20 minutes, just to kind of let it solidify a little bit so it's a lot easier. Once again, another guy walking through my job site. That's probably fifth or sixth person. So take your time with it, you know, let it dry a little bit, but don't let it dry too much, because if it dries too much, then you're screwed. So now we're going to try to clean some of the stones that we laid. I'm going to take a damp sponge and just lightly brush it. Just enough, you know, you're gonna have to do it a few times depending how much mortar you put on, but it'll eventually clear up. Make sure you keep the sponge clean, and you probably have to change the water a few times because it's just gonna get cloudy really fast and you're pretty much gonna be pushing shit around. So a few more wipes, you'll start seeing the stones. I think my stones start showing right after this wipe or two. And then you realize you got a lot of it off. There you go. See? You see my stones? They're starting to show through. So, you know, it's something that you just got to take your time with it. You'll eventually get it. The stones will eventually show. And for the record, I am not a mason. I do not do this on a regular basis. This is not my strong point. I just know enough to get by, to fix these stairs, and that's it. Now, this is one of the Amazon packages that came. Literally, one came, and then I think 10 seconds later, another one showed up. It was like quite ridiculous. I was up and down these stairs all day. So, like I said before, like it's good to know these stairs cost you a lot of money to install new ones. There you go. There's the second one. So, I mean, this essentially would save you a ton of money if you had to replace these all, and it's good to know. These stairs actually somebody would probably charge you several $100 just to fix this one step, actually half a step. So it's not even one step. So, I mean, it's, you know, half day's worth of work, a few $100 saved. I think that's a win to have for anybody. There we go. Look at all those stones. Look how nice they look now. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, it took a little bit, but we got there. Oh, and I completely forgot there was another Amazon delivery that day. It was literally like 3 or 4. It was unbelievable how many times people up and down deliveries came. It's like every time you're trying to do something on these stairs, 400 people wanted to come and visit. And there you have it. That's how you fix stone steps. I think the step came out pretty good. And if you had to do this for all of them, it's the same concept pretty much all throughout. I think they look good. Thanks for watching, and I'm out.